Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm David Rooney, publisher of the Revelstoke Current, and welcome to In Conversation, my periodic discussion of all things political with political people. And my guest this morning is Gerry Taft, Mayor of Invermere and the candidate for the New Democratic Party in the upcoming provincial election. Gerry, welcome to In Conversation.
Thank you.
Good. So now you're here in Revelstoke. You've left the valley and you're here. What brings you to Revelstoke today?
So the purpose of coming to Revelstoke is to meet with some folks and get a little bit of opportunity to have some one-on-one discussions with different various political and business personalities within Revelstoke, and then also do a little bit of door knocking and canvassing to businesses, and generally try to get out and kind of meet people and help to, if people have heard my name, perhaps connect a name and a face, and just a soft start to the campaigning.
Well, that's a wise thing to do. I mean, the more you can put in, more time you can put in on the campaign trail before the election campaign is actually announced, the better off you'll be. Who are you going to be meeting specifically with anybody here? I know you're meeting the mayor,
Yes,
Mark McKee. Who else are you meeting?
So yeah, we've got a whole slate of people, and I don't have all the names off the top of my head, but okay. We're getting introduced by a few of the business owners downtown, and hopefully get to meet a bunch of folks. And then we're also having kind of a drop-in dinner where people who are just sort of see it on Facebook or hear about it are welcome to attend.
Oh.
And looking forward to making these connections.
Good. Now, how often have you been here since last fall?
So this is the first trip since last fall, when I had that opportunity to go around with MLA Norm MacDonald and be introduced. And so now, as we get into this time of year, I'm hoping to make it to Revelstoke at least once a month, if not more. And looking forward to coming out here more.
Good. How are things going over there in the Columbia Valley?
Things are always busy. Obviously still being on council and still being involved in local government politics. But definitely now that we're into 2017, and it seems like some of the stuff with the American election has, wouldn't say settled down, but there is a president installed now. So I think the focus is starting to shift a little bit back towards provincial politics and British Columbia issues. So things are quite busy, but they're positive.
What do you think of Donald Trump?
He is a wild card, and I think most people, just when myself included, feel that it's almost an alternate reality to believe that he is actually president, and it's a little bit scary.
It should be scary. He's a scary guy. I think he's going to rock back. He's going to rock Justin Trudeau back on his heels.
And it definitely feels like some of the things that we're hearing right now out of the U.S. It's almost like going back many decades to a previous time where certain groups are not respected, where coal is great energy, and all kinds of things that are happening right now that it almost feels like a different decade.
Yeah, it does. He's a number of people, including Christy Clark, the Premier, are predicting a new softwood lumber war. What do you take? Do you think that we're going to be in for a war with the Americans?
I think there's a very good chance that we're going to see some tariffs on softwood lumber, and I could see that the next couple of years there could be some real tension with trade with the U.S. And it's something that in this area we need to be especially aware of what potential implications this might mean on negotiating on the Columbia River Treaty and on some of the other issues that we have as far as power and water and flood control. And so it's obviously, we're so close to the American border, this is going to have very direct impacts on us.
How tough do you think we should be? The Canadians generally appear to be fairly soft sell people, but I think this may be time for a change of pace. What do you think? Do you think we should be tougher with our negotiations with the Americans coming up?
Absolutely. And I mean, if there's something that we can do as far as, well, for example, stopping raw log exports and, just maybe this is an opportunity, although there could be some short-term pain with some of the tariffs that might come on softwood lumber, maybe this is an opportunity to kind of retool and reinvigorate some industries and diversify the customer base and also work on some value added in our region instead of just shipping out raw materials and being so dependent on that U.S. market. I think that we'll have a bit of an example to watch with how things go with Mexico, and hopefully we can watch that situation and be able to learn from that, and that might better inform a Canadian reaction, because I think the first fight's going to be with Mexico, and Canada might be a little bit after.
Well, I think we're going to have a real fight with the Americans under Trump, and I don't think Ottawa's prepared for it. The Mexican, his approach to the Mexicans is just atrocious. The guy's a bully, and he's not going to stop with the Mexicans. Yeah. Oh well. Enough of Donald. Enough of Donald. How's your campaigning going in the Valley?
Yeah, it's going well. So in my my other life, before going full on into politics, I owned and operated my own business, Gerry's Gelati, coffee and ice cream shop and food production company. And so I've just sold that business, and so the new owners took over January 1st. So a good part of the fall and December and even into early January was spent making that transition and getting out of running a business and the full-time commitments that takes. And so now that we're into, well into, just about into February of 2017, it's now time to kind of ramp up and dedicate a lot of energy to the campaign and an opportunity to get out of just the Invermere and the Columbia Valley and see the rest of the riding.
Is that why you sold your business, to free you up for the campaign?
Definitely, yeah. It also was a great opportunity to have a younger couple that were based locally who wanted to buy it, so that's always a great combination as well. Yeah. But it was perfect timing, so to be able to have the time now and be able to meet with folks and better learn all of the issues and put the full energy in for the campaign.
What do you think are going to be the major issues of the campaign this year?
Well, there's some consistent issues that are probably relevant for every provincial campaign, which include healthcare and the way it's funded and the way it's delivered, education, and then just obviously those two are the main areas, but it also includes highways, and basically to me it's about rural services in our communities in our area that we constantly feel that they're being threatened. There's always talk of various cutbacks or decreases in spending, and it's a real battle a lot of times just to maintain services when we know there actually is probably a case for improving the services. So that's definitely one area that's, I think, going to be a constant this election, next election. I think this will be something that we need to always talk about.
And what services would those be?
Well, specifically the education and healthcare.
Education, healthcare.
And then also highways and road maintenance and the various promises that have been made around, for example, twinning the Trans-Canada Highway, which we keep hearing, and they replace signs.
But that's never going to happen as quickly as people imagine it would. I mean, it took a decade to build the Trans-Canada in the first place. Particularly through Rogers Pass, and it's not going to happen quickly. The twinning is not going to happen quickly. There's a lot that still has to be done, but it's they probably could pick up the pace.
And ideally, there'd be more effort put into on-the-ground construction and less into signs and promises.
Yeah, well, your end of the riding has got more highways to worry about than we do. I mean, we've got Highway 23 and Highway 1, and that's it. So you've got the highway all the way down to Cranbrook, and then what is it, 98 coming in through Kootenay? 93 through Kootenay, yeah.
But Trans-Canada is very, very important, and I think we all know some of the issues around the Rogers Pass and around everything. But aside from just those services, another thing that's going to be really important this election, and it seems to be gaining some attention from the public, is just around how campaign financing works in BC and in the rest of Canada, and the concept of basically cash for access, and the idea that wealthy people or large companies can donate to political parties and meet directly with the Premier and meet with cabinet ministers and have influence. And this is something that I think is it's a thorn in the side of the BC Liberals, and they're hoping that it will go away, but I don't think it's going to. I think people have sort of woken up that the amount of money that's being raised and the access that's being given, it doesn't smell right, and it's causing issues, and people are sort of aware of how this is starting to influence our political process.
I was tending to think that it was more recently more a federal issue than a provincial one, but
it's definitely becoming a provincial issue.
Yeah.
And as the Premier recently announced that she's not going to take the $50,000 from the party anymore, but these there's been recent media stories kind of calling British Columbia the Wild West for the lack of rules around donations to political parties and around election fundraising. And so compared to other provinces in Canada, BC is very far behind. And the NDP has come out quite strongly saying that we should eliminate corporate and union donations and make things a lot more transparent, a lot more based on individuals, and take the big money out. And the BC Liberals are literally raising millions of dollars right now from companies that are generally, a lot of them very large and very involved in the resource sector, whether that's building pipelines or mining or a whole host of industries that the government also happens to be very favorable towards.
Would it be any different if the NDP was in power?
Well, and that's where there needs to be a level playing field, is eliminate corporate and union donations for all parties. And that, I think, would make a level playing field, and it would take some of the money out of politics.
Good. What else is going on?
Yes, there's a lot of interest right now in local food. That's a very important theme that I think is going to continue on. And
are you a foodie?
Well, definitely my background, having run a ice cream coffee shop, which I made the gelato from scratch and roasted the coffee, and we tried to make everything from scratch. And so that was part of the goal as well, with the philosophy behind the business, was to do that value added and that extra little bit of sort of secondary food manufacturing within Invermere, and not be just trucking stuff in from other places. And that seems to be a sector of the economy in all of the communities within Columbia River, Revelstoke, whether it's Kimberley, Invermere, Radium, Golden, Revelstoke. It's relevant for all of those communities, and I think it's something that is already successful, but has an opportunity to even be expanded and grow.
I know local food is a big issue here. Is it an equally large issue in, say, in Invermere? Do you have community gardens there?
We have an excellent facility within Invermere. It's quite envied by other communities, and attached to our high school in Invermere is a greenhouse facility, which is basically the energy and the heat is through geothermal, and it's both able to produce food, but it's also used as an educational tool. So children and people taking the chef training program at the high school are able to go in and plant herbs and plant vegetables and learn more about growing. And they also bring in workshops and courses from all over Canada, and people come in and use this as a base, and they do a lot of other courses outside as well, but this is sort of a hub, and so it's a pretty excellent facility.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I'd heard about the greenhouse. I didn't know it was geothermally heated.
Yeah, and then also some solar panels on the roof, and it's quite energy efficient.
Terrific. Well, Gerry, I think we're just about out of time. I'd like to thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you again soon. Good.